Shot yourself, he ain't going to want to slip up in this fight either.
Yeah, come in.
I was saying Conor was gonna win a couple of weeks ago. I thought that he was the more aggressor, but then looking at the size difference, and then we're realizing that he's going up a weight, not up one or maybe two weights. These weights are made for a purpose.
Conor Benn has just been seen knocked out during his sparring session ahead of his upcoming clash with Eubank Jr. On the other hand, Froch expressed his disinterest in the potential fight between Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. He pointed out that Eubank Jr. has lost to top fighters like George Groves and Billy Joe Saunders and only fights once a year. Froch criticized Eubank's recent performance, noting he looks slow with poor balance and a vulnerable chin. He also mentioned that at 36, Eubank had talked about fighting elite boxers like Canelo Alvarez and Triple G, but is now nearing retirement.
The Eubank Jr. Conor Benn fight does absolutely nothing for me.
Really?
Yeah, Eubank Jr. lost to George Groves, he lost to Billy Joe Saunders, he doesn't box, he boxes once a year. He looked terrible in his last fight. He was slow with his jab, he was leaving his chin in the air, his balance looks like it's gone. He's 36 years old, talking about fighting Canelo Alvarez and taking on all these top. He was talking about Triple G for a while, who's now gone 40 and retired.
Froch also questioned Conor Benn's accomplishments, pointing out that his win over Chris Algieri was his only notable achievement, and reminding everyone of his failed drug test. Froch stated Benn hasn't faced significant competition or developed as a fighter. He believes the fight would only be close because Eubank would be drained to 160 pounds, while Benn would move up from 147. Ultimately, Froch felt the fight would be unexciting, lack real stakes, and prove nothing.
Conor Benn? What's Conor Benn done?
Not a lot.
He's beat Chris Algieri and failed. He's failed that drugs test. We're not seeing him do anything. He's fought nobody. He's not developed. He's not developed. He's done nothing. So for Conor Benn to jump in there with Eubank Jr., the only reason that fight would be close is because they're probably going to drain Eubank down to 160, a middleweight. And then, but Conor Benn's having to come up from 147. So
the gap there
it's not an exciting fight. It don't prove anything.
Spencer Oliver believes Eubank Jr. is the favorite in the fight due to his size, experience, and higher level competition. Eubank Jr. has fought at 168 pounds, while Conor Benn is moving up from 147 pounds, a significant jump for any boxer.
I think Eubank Jr. has to start the favourite. He's the bigger guy of the two. He's been the more tested of the two. He's boxed at a higher level. Conor Benn has had his troubles outside of the ring with the two failed tests that put him inactive. I mean, I know he had a couple of low-key fights, but not very active, not as active as he'd like to have been. He was boxing at 147. This is now up at 160. Anyone that will think, well, it's not that much of a jump. Trust me, it is. For boxers, it's a huge jump, And Chris is a guy coming down from 168. He boxed George Groves at 168 in the World Super Series. And, you know, he boxed him at 168. He come back down to 160.
I never really fancied him at super middle, though, did you?
No, I didn't fancy him at super middle. He was too small against George Groves. We could see that. 160 is his weight. It is tough there. They put a rehydration clause of 10 pounds in there, but I don't think that'll make much of a difference, because 10 pounds is quite a lot of fluid to put back into the body.
While Eubank Jr. has more experience, Spencer pointed out that he is getting older, and Benn is young with a lot to prove. This fight is a key opportunity for Benn to show he can compete at the world level, making it an intriguing matchup of experience versus youth.
But Chris has to start the favourite because of where he's positioned, but he's getting older now, and Conor Benn is young, and there's a lot on the line for him, and I think it's a coming-of-age fight for Conor. We'll see now just how good he is. Is he good enough? Can he compete at that level? Because Chris has always sort of been there or thereabouts, world level, so it's an interesting fight.
The problem with Eubank's record is this, Spencer, surely.
Darren Barker emphasized that fighters need to vary their attacks and defense to avoid being predictable in the ring. He pointed out that boxing is a fine line between winning and losing, and fighters must use their brains to outsmart their opponents. He believes that variation in tactics, especially attacks to the body, is crucial for success.
Yeah, I've said this numerous times, I think, and not just about this fight in particular. I think all fighters need to vary their attacks. They need to vary their defense. You can't be predictable in this sport. You've got to remember, boxing, there's such a fine line between winning and losing. There's only so much you can do. You know, you've got two arms, two legs, and a brain, and who can use that brain better than the other. And I think variation in all of your work is so important. So yes, attacks to the body going to be paramount.
Barker also highlighted that Conor Benn has the better jab compared to Chris Eubank Jr., whose jab has often been inconsistent. While Eubank Jr. has started using his jab more under Roy Jones, it is still a shot he tends to neglect. Barker stressed that Benn will need to show variation in his strategy when they fight on April 26th.
I think the jab, crucial. I think out of the two, Conor has the better jab. At times, Eubank Jr.'s jab's been non-existent. We see him starting to use his jab a little bit more under his short time with Roy Jones, but it's a shot that he neglects. So yeah, I think variation, certainly from Conor Benn, is going to be much needed on April 26th.
However, Conor Benn is known for his relentless sparring sessions, pushing himself to the limit with each round. His intense work ethic and determination to improve have made him a formidable force in the gym. Benn's non-stop training ensures he stays sharp, constantly refining his skills for future challenges.
Yourself, he ain't gonna want to slip up in this fight either.
Yeah. Come here. More than one, mate.
Moreover, Duke McKenzie expressed concern about Eubank's weight cut for the fight, particularly the significant difference between his walking weight and the required 160 pounds. He highlighted the risks of weight training, stating that it's dangerous and can impact Eubank's physical strength. McKenzie shared his own experience with weight training, emphasizing its negative effects on performance.
My concern for Eubank is the amount of weight this boy's got to cut to come down to, I think the fight's made at 160 pounds, is that right? Right. So he's got to come down from 100, from whatever his walking round weight is. Let's say he walks around at 180 pounds when he's out of training. That's like 20 pound weight difference, right? That he's got to lose. It's not safe. It's not. He can't possibly be at his physically strongest. He can't, and he's really putting himself on the line, right? Because when your weight weakened, I know I've been weight drained in fights previously, so I'm speaking from a point of reference. When you're weight drained, it doesn't matter what you eat on the day, it doesn't make you stronger.
Joshua Buatsi emphasized the importance of giving credit to fighters like Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, acknowledging the mental strength required in the sport of boxing. Buatsi highlighted how Eubank Jr. remained unfazed after his knockout loss to Liam Smith, showing a level of composure and confidence in the rematch. Despite facing intense criticism and being booed in Manchester, Eubank Jr. demonstrated remarkable resilience, ultimately winning the rematch by stopping Smith.
Hey, when I say I gotta give credit to them, I do give him credit because he's tough. Do you know what I mean? And let me bring this up, Andy. Let me bring this up about Eubank Jr. No one gives him credit for how nonchalant he was when he lost to Liam Smith. He said it was a punch from the gods. We were like, no, it wasn't. You got starfished. But guess what? In a rematch, he had the same energy. And the same approach for the first fight. He had that nonchalantness, that approach that I'm gonna beat you up regardless. Even though he had been knocked out a few months before, he came to Manchester, was booed by 1 million people. I was there, and he came out and he won.
Buatsi also stressed that both Eubank Jr. and Benn deserve recognition for their willpower and determination in overcoming tough challenges. He noted that these fighters have been through difficult bouts, but their ability to come out on top showcases their true strength. Buatsi's words underline the significance of mental toughness in boxing and the importance of respecting fighters who continue to push forward, no matter the obstacles they face.
It's not spoken about so much, like the credit isn't given enough to him, how he bounced back from that upset, came in a rematch and beat the guy, stopped him. It's not enough credit there. And for Conor Benn as well, fights like his dad, so you can't say much there, do you know what I mean? The will is there, the willpower is in there. So when I say we got to give these two fighters credit, we genuinely do, because it's a tough sport. And they've been in tough fights, they've come out on top. and now they're creating this big fight in April.
However, Conor Benn has also been spotted training with former world champion Shawn Porter ahead of his highly anticipated fight with Chris Eubank Jr. The partnership highlights Benn's commitment to preparing for the challenge, benefiting from Porter's experience and technical expertise to enhance his own skills for the upcoming showdown.
You already got a lot of power in that jab. That was one of the things I really was wondering. Yeah. Does this dude fight with as much power as I see him fighting? You just got some power. You just got, like, you got strength. Because that speed, that jab had way more speed on it than I thought it was going to have. Yeah, and it was still strong. Lose the jab.
Shot. Shot.
Moreover, Tony Sims, Conor Benn's trainer, predicted that it will be a great fight, with both fighters eager to win for their names and their fathers. He expressed strong belief that Conor Benn will come out victorious, looking forward to the momentous occasion, and confident that fans will be excited to tune in.
Both boys want to win this fight badly, obviously, for their name and for their fathers, and I believe that it's going to be a great fight, but I strongly believe that my man will come out the victor of the fight, and but I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a momentous occasion, and I'm sure all the fans are looking forward to it as well, and I'm sure as a boxing fan that everyone will be tuning in to watch it as well.
Amir Khan expressed that initially he believed Conor Benn would win the fight due to his aggressiveness. However, after considering the size difference and the fact that Benn is moving up in weight, Khan felt that the weight classes are designed for a reason. He acknowledged that while Eubank is not Canelo, Eubank has the advantage in terms of power, strength, height, and size, ultimately picking Eubank to win the fight.
So, you know, I was saying Conor was gonna win. A couple of weeks ago, I thought that he was a more aggressor, but then looking at the size difference, and then we're realizing that he's going up a weight, not up one or maybe two weights. These weights are made for a purpose. Yeah. And even though I went on for Canelo, I know the difference. But then again, you know, Eubank's no Conor. No, sorry, Chris Eubank is no Canelo. Canelo was a beast. You know what I mean? But I still feel that Eubank has a lot more weight, more power, more strength, and the height and the size over Conor Benn. I got him winning that fight now.
Amir Khan further explained that while he likes Conor Benn and considers him a friend, he believes Chris Eubank Jr. has the edge in the fight. Khan noted that Eubank has faced better opposition and that Benn, despite his potential, has not been as active in the ring recently. As a fan, Khan ultimately picks Eubank to win.
Chris Eubank Jr. is not able to rehydrate himself fully because of the 10-pound restriction weight limit in the morning. What do you make of that?
And what's the fine on that? On top.
Oh, you know what? That's an interesting point, because there will be a fine on top of that. So maybe he won't do the 10-pound weight limit and just think, you know what, I'll pay the fine.
I'll pay the fine off, because you know one thing I know about Chris Eubank is that he's that type of guy that he's not bothered about.
He does what he
really
wants.
Bothered about stuff like that. He does what he wants. So if he says I'm gonna come up 15 pounds over, at 5 pounds, I'll pay the 5 pounds off. Boom. He just wants that name on his resume that he's beaten. Conor Benn.
Yeah, the win might be more important than the fight.
The win is more important than the money, exactly.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Look, even though the fight might be making them a lot of money, so these boys thinking, I'm getting paid a lot of money just to beat this guy bum up. I'm just gonna go in there. I'm just gonna give him a beating. Why should I dehydrate myself? Why should I cut myself? So
I'm assuming you think that Chris Eubank Jr. beats Conor Benn.
No, yeah, I think so, because I think that I think he's been in better opposition as well. But I like Conor, and I think Conor, you know, I think he's been at the ring a long time now. He's not really been that busy. Conor needs to be a lot more busier. But look, I like Conor. He's a friend, but I just feel that looking at it as a fan from the outside, I have to go with Eubank now.
Don Charles shared his thoughts on the upcoming fight between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, stating that he is close to both fighters' families. As a result, he chose not to pick a side, expressing that he wanted to remain neutral. However, he acknowledged the significance of the fight and anticipated a thrilling contest, wishing both fighters the best.
Again, another historic fight in a while. Again, I don't like sitting on the. I'm gonna sit on the fence on that one, and I'm close with both parents. I'm gonna sit on the fence. All I can say on that one, may the best man win. It's going to be a terrific fight.
Liam Smith contends that even the most resilient fighters, such as Chris, aren't immune to being knocked out if the right shot connects. He disputes the idea that some boxers are untouchable, stressing that it's unrealistic to think someone like Chris can't be hurt. Smith argues that anyone, regardless of their toughness, can be vulnerable to a well-timed punch. He is confident that Conor possesses the knockout power to deliver a similar result to what happened in their previous encounter, where he stopped Chris.
Do I think Conor Benn can knock Chris Eubank Jr. out? Yeah, and let's go back to what I said before I done it. You're deluded and you're crazy if you think fighters of this level can't hit you on the chin and do damage to you. And I said before I stopped Chris, when you probably yourself and everybody else made out Chris can't be stopped to the head, I said don't be fooled and don't be so gullible, don't be so naive to think Chris is dynamite and can't. Chris is like iron and can't be knocked out. It's anybody on the chin with a sound glove on. With a shot you don't see can be knocked out, and I proved that with Chris, and Conor can do the same thing. Yeah, I think he hits hard enough to hit Chris. So there's your answers to them questions.
Teddy Atlas describes Benn as a fighter who thrives on being aggressive, preferring to take the lead and control the pace of the fight with his technical skill. He aims to stay on the front foot, constantly pushing forward to dominate his rivals. On the other hand, Eubank adopts a more defensive strategy. He focuses on maintaining distance, using unconventional punches and striking when his opponents get too close. Eubank's style often frustrates his adversaries as he waits for them to rush in, only to catch them with well-timed, unconventional blows.
It's always interesting to me. I mean, you have Ben, who's aggressive, likes to be aggressive in a responsible way, but he likes to be on the offense. He likes to be the boss coming forward, and he has good skill sets, good technique. And then, of course, you have Eubank, who likes to control the outside. You know, he likes to snipe you. He likes to catch you coming in. You know, he likes to throw awkward, unorthodox shots at you from different angles, you know, and make it a fight where it's frustrating for you, where, you know, if you're coming a little over anxious, you know, he can catch you with a sniper shot.
Moreover, Darren Till anticipated that the showdown between Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. would be a closely matched 50-50 battle. He recognized that Eubank Jr. likely had the upper hand in terms of experience and weight, but he still believed that Benn would come out on top. Till noted that if Benn managed to defeat Eubank Jr., it would spark discussions about Eubank Jr.'s future in boxing. However, he emphasized that a loss wouldn't tarnish Eubank Jr.'s reputation, but he still saw Benn having the edge in this particular fight.
Maybe then you just don't know. Maybe where does he go from there if Conor beats him? I'm not trying to say Conor's any less of him, but yeah, Chris is obviously the guy who should beat him because he's a lot heavier, maybe more seasoned. But you know, it's definitely a 50-50 fight in my eyes. I think Conor's going to beat him. So yeah, you can see where that thought process comes from. But you know, who knows? I know Chris likes to play poker a lot, so maybe comes back for the money or something. Don't know.
Teddy Atlas also highlights the weight difference between Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr., with Benn being the smaller fighter and Eubank the larger one. Set at a catch weight, the fight reflects a common boxing practice of meeting at a middle ground. Atlas references boxing greats like Sam Langford, who moved between weight classes, showing that such adjustments are part of boxing's history. This dynamic adds an intriguing layer to the fight, with contrasting styles and sizes set to clash.
It's a fight, and then you got the weight. You got to figure that in too, because you got Ben, you know, where he's a naturally smaller guy. Obviously, Eubank is naturally a bigger guy. You have a compromise in the weight. You have a catch weight, but again, that's history. The history of this sport, you go back in the 20s to 30s, but even before that, catchweight fights happened all the time. You had lightweights like Sam Langford. You guys don't know Sam Langford.
I know.
Sam Langford, oh my time.
Yeah.
You got to talk about Sam Langford.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy that fought from lightweight to heavyweight, and he beat them all. I mean, so it's nothing new to have guys moving up or moving down in weight in this great sport.
Ricky Hatton weighed in on the upcoming clash between Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr., highlighting the buzz around Benn's jump up 2 weight divisions. He pointed out that Benn has yet to encounter someone like Eubank Jr., especially at this weight, but acknowledged Benn's unwavering confidence and tenacious spirit, reminiscent of his father's mentality. While Eubank Jr. is widely seen as the frontrunner, Hatton hinted that Benn's fierce determination and self-assurance could make the bout much closer than anticipated.
It's very interesting to think, to be honest with you. I mean, Conor's going up for 2 weight divisions. He's not fought anyone like the people that Eubank Jr. has fought, at his own weight, let alone 2 weights above. So it'll be very interesting. But Conor has a huge self-belief and drive, to be honest with you. A drive like his dad. The Benn family, I've never seen a family with more drive and determination. So I think everything's pointing at Chris Eubank Jr. But I think I might have a sneaky few quid on Conor, to be honest with you. His drive and his confidence and his self-belief is something that I've only ever seen in a handful of people, and he's going to need that, and I think that might be enough against Eubank.
Sam Jones expressed confidence in Conor Benn emerging victorious, citing Benn's youth and relentless energy as key advantages. He acknowledged Chris Eubank Jr.'s difficult loss to Liam Smith, but credited him for displaying resilience by avenging the defeat in their rematch.
I think a couple of months back. I just think Conor Benn's going to win. Too young, too fresh, and although, listen, Eubank, it took a lot for him to come back after getting viciously knocked out by Liam Smith, to come back and beat Liam Smith.
Jones also pointed out that the timing of the fight favors Benn, making him the preferred pick to win. While he praised Eubank's boxing skills, he suggested that if Eubank had been aligned with a major promoter like Frank Warren or Eddie Hearn, from the beginning, his career might have been even more successful. Although he described Eubank as charismatic, witty, and articulate, Jones ultimately believes Benn has the upper hand in this matchup.
I just think the fight's happening at the right time for Conor Benn. I think the fight's happening at the right time, and I favour Conor Benn in the fight.
Yeah.
I think Eubank Jr. is good for boxing. Genuinely, I think Chris Jr. is good for boxing. I think that if he was promoted by a Frank Warren or an Eddie Hearn back in the day when he turned pro, he would be an even bigger star than what he is now, because of how he is. He's funny, like he's quite funny, isn't he, Eubank Jr.? He speaks well. But yeah, I think he's good for boxing, but I just think Conor Benn's going to chin him.
Eddie Hearn backed the fight between Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr., stressing that it's a well-matched contest between 2 top-level fighters. He rejected the notion that the bout is one-sided, instead pointing to the legendary rivalry between their fathers. Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank Sr. Hearn also noted that the tension between the 2 sons has escalated, making it the most heated and fierce rivalry in British boxing today.
Know what the circus is and what you're a fool to buy into. It's a really good fight. It's a 50-50 fight between 2 guys that are world ranked in their division. I mean, he's making out like neither of them have ever boxed before. They're both useless. It's a mismatch. It's not. It's a 50-50 fight between 2 world ranked fighters who, by the way, fathers happen to be Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank, who had the biggest rivalry ever in British boxing, and, by the way, whose sons now have, by far, the biggest rivalry in British boxing, that is venomous, that is violent.
Carl Frampton saw Chris Eubank Jr. as the favorite, but emphasized that his performance would hinge on how well he manages the weight cut. He pointed out that Eubank had competed at 160 pounds rather than 168, and noted that shedding weight becomes increasingly difficult with age. Rather than making an early prediction, Frampton preferred to assess Eubank's physical condition at the weigh-in before drawing any conclusions.
I think Eubank is the favorite, and a lot of it depends on how he makes the weight and what he looks like on the scales, and the 10-pound rehydration clause is going to be difficult for him. I've been kind of criticised a wee bit because I've been saying he's been boxing at 168. He hasn't. He's been boxing at 160. But the point I was trying to make was he has boxed at 168. And as you get older, you normally go up the weight. You don't come down the weight. So he's it's hurting him now to do 160, and I need to see what he looked like on a scale before I make a prediction.
Roy Jones Jr. acknowledged the tough challenge Conor Benn faces against Chris Eubank Jr., suggesting that Benn's best shot at an upset would come from landing a powerful left hook. However, he noted that if Benn fails to hurt Eubank, the fight would likely swing in Eubank's favor, as he has made significant improvements. Jones credited much of Eubank's development to their time training together, which has helped him become a more complete fighter.
Very tough fight for Conor. Not saying he can't win it because one big left hook could change anything. But to me, his best chance are to try to land a big shot. If that don't happen, or if he lands it and it don't hurt Chris, then it's going to be really, pretty rough for him because Chris is definitely an improved fighter. You understand me? And like, even the stuff he's doing now, he's going to continue to get better. But I think when he came down there with me for that year, it improved his foundation. You understand me? So it made him a better fighter.
He also recognized Benn's determination, especially after witnessing Liam Smith's unexpected victory over Eubank, which might boost Benn's confidence. However, Jones pointed out that Eubank's size and continuous growth make him the more likely favorite. While he praised both fighters, he ultimately believed Eubank's physical advantages would likely be the deciding factor in what promises to be an exciting and competitive fight.
He's going to be hard to beat for anybody, especially a guy that's smaller than him. But we saw Liam Smith pull out the upset at one time, so I know that gave Ben much more hope that he could probably do the same. So it's going to be a great fight. Both fighters are great fighters. I love both of them. I think Chris is a little bigger and has the advantages because he's bigger.
So what are your thoughts on this? Share your thoughts in the comment section and make sure to subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video.